Welcome to the newly branded Jane Healey Happy Hour, formerly Historical Happy Hour, the podcast that explores new and exciting novels of all genres. I'm your host, best-selling author Jane Healey, and in today's episode, we welcome Priya Parmar to discuss her new novel, The Original, which has been called a riveting and unputdownable journey through fame, rebellion, and the relentless pursuit of authenticity. It releases April 28th. Welcome, Priya. I'll hold up the book too for the YouTube people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I'm going to do a quick bio and then we'll dive in.
Sounds great.
Priya Parmar is the author of the novels Exit the Actress,
Mhm.
and Vanessa and Her Sister, a New York Times notable book, and she is co-author of the musical Sylvia, nominated for the Olivier Award for Best New Musical. She divides her time between Hawaii and Connecticut with her family and 4 rescue dogs. Again, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So congratulations on this latest novel, The Original. What drew you to write a novel about Katharine Hepburn?
I've always loved her. I've always loved her, and my I was watching one of her old movies with my mom and my stepdaughter, and I my mom happened to just mention out of nowhere, this is her comeback movie. And I was really surprised. I was like, come back from what? When was she ever not, on top? That's not sort of something that lives in my understanding of her. And so I sort of fell down a Google rabbit hole, and then I fell down some more, and then I found myself ordering a ton of books, and that's kind of how it started. And I was in denial for a long time that I was actually writing it. I was like, I'm just interested. I'm just reading about her. And then finally, like 6 months in, I was like, I've read 30 books about her. I'm clearly doing this. Like, this
It's
is
time.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So that like segues really perfectly into my next question. It's biographical fiction about Katharine Hepburn. What was your research process like, and how did you figure out how to shape her story?
The research process was really actually very different from other books that I've done because this is the first person I've ever written about where I could see how they moved and see how they walked, and I know how they sounded. So I was starting with a lot more physical information than I ever have before. Um, but then I was also starting with a period I knew much less about.
Mhm.
So it was a ton of primary research, chasing all over the country, finding letters, finding, her documents are sort of stored in a couple of different places. One, I'm really lucky in that all of her theater stuff is right here in the Billy Rose, in New York. So that's fantastic. And then, so there was all the primary documentation and then the secondary documentation, all of the reading of the biographies and her own writing and watching the films. And then I went and, visited all of the places where she'd lived. And all these houses are now owned by other people.
Mm.
So it was lots of, kind of standing in people's front yards, probably, when they wished I wouldn't.
That's amazing.
But it was great. It was lovely to spend time in the places that where she'd been.
Um, so interesting, and I love talking research. And one of the things you mentioned in the first question, and I thought so too. I was like, gosh, I guess I didn't realize that she had such a tumultuous career, right? She wasn't always on top, and that was a surprise to me because I think that's the perception, right? She's this like revered Hollywood star. So, was there anything else in your research that really surprised you about her life?
So much.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to give away too many spoilers if you're coming to it not knowing, you know, that much about her life, which is that's one of the things that's really nice actually, is I don't think you have to know very much about her to engage with this novel.
Hmm.
But I didn't know her life had gone the way it had. I didn't know there was that much tragedy in her family. I didn't know she had come from all this trauma. I didn't know, um, I didn't understand the ups and downs of her early professional life. So many of these things were a massive, massive surprise to me. She had always seemed, you know, to be, I, the other thing is she'd always sort of seemed to me to be she is who she is. And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of salty New England, um, persona seems to be, I just thought it came ready made, that's who she was. But in actual fact, I in doing all this research into her earlier life, I saw how she curated that image, how she projected that image, how she really the person we remember is the one she wanted us to remember. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
big surprise to me, how careful she was about her public image.
Yes, yeah, totally agree. Um, so you weave in a number of kind of her core people into the story. So Cary Grant, Howard Hughes, the Selznicks, her ex-husband Luddy, her on again, off again girlfriend Laura, um, and how did you balance like who these people were in Hollywood history and who they were as real people in her life?
It was a tricky balance because they are all worth a book on their
Oh yeah,
own. You know what I mean? They're
yeah.
all like if I wasn't really rigorous with myself, Cary Grant would just walk off with the story because he was
Hmm.
so much fun to write and he was so interesting in his life, multiple novels in his
Hmm.
life. Same with Irene Selznick, same with David Selznick, same with, so all these, same with Leland Hayward, all of these people, and there were such great stories that had to sort of hit the cutting room floor that I was so sad about, things like, and I held on to some of them for so long before I finally was like, no, they have to go. Like Leland Hayward's stepmother, she traded a perfect string of pearls, for the Cartier building, which was her, just things like that. And you're like, I
Amazing.
can't not
Yeah.
have that. You're like, but it doesn't fit in the story. It's like, well, I can build a scene to make it fit, but you
Right,
want
right.
to go. So there was so much, fine tuning to find the balance to make sure that nobody overwhelmed the story and the research that it all felt organic, that it all felt like it was there for a reason and it wasn't just there because I had spent weeks and weeks and weeks and desperately wanted it to be in the story.
Oh, I understand that so, so well. Yeah. When you find something juicy and you just want to put it
Oh.
in and it doesn't really, yeah.
And it doesn't work and you're sort of you spend so long you sort of truck yourself into it and you're like, no, this works. This is here for a reason. And then
Yeah.
no, not.
No,
It's gotta go.
I hear you. I want to talk, I love, talking about structure too. And so it's told from Kate's perspective, but then you have, other people, like different people in her life circling around her, their perspective as well. Did you always plan on structuring it that way?
No.
Oh, really?
It's really interesting because I thought it was going to be in the first person and I thought it was going to be her all the way through. And when you are you- sort of urging a story into a shape that it doesn't want to go, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't want to go into that shape. It wanted a different shape. So you know, stopped, I regrouped, I went back, I let it be in a different shape. And when I did, that's when the Los Angeles sections sprang to life. That's when, everybody, it turns out, had something to say and different perspective, and it just the book sort of came alive in
Oh,
a way
so cool.
I didn't expect. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't want to be in first person. It really was resisting hard.
Interesting. So interesting. Um, so I mean the book's title is perfect, the original, and I talk a little bit about like she was like just this like independent spirit, kind of broke the mold of like the Hollywood glamour girls of the time of old Hollywood, and talk about like her struggles and her career and the choices she made a little bit. So for readers, who aren't that familiar with her, like I am, but I think some people, like you said, and I don't think you need to know anything about her to read this story. Like it's fascinating. But talk a little bit about what she went through to achieve what she did.
Well, first of all, the title, I can't take credit for that.
Oh,
My friend Paula McLean, who wrote The Paris Wife, she
oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
and Skylark, which just came out and is brilliant.
Hmm.
We were on a walk in New York, and we couldn't think of a title, and we couldn't think of a title, and she was like, "Okay, what are the words that have come up when you've asked people about her?" Because I went around asking people, "What are the words you think of when you think of Katharine Hepburn?" And original was one of those three words that had come up. And she was like, "That's it. That's the title." And so I was stuck and I didn't have a title. Um, so yeah, so that was one thing. And then in terms of like what she went through to build her career, she was acting at a time when stars didn't have very much control. They really
Hmm.
didn't. They had an agent, but the agent was, managing loan outs to other studios, and they were very much um, operating within a rigid system that was not really built to give them huge range. It was built to give them like, okay, this is what you can do. This is your lane. Here it is. We figured it out. Off you go. Now you're just going to do lots and lots of this. It wasn't built to give them, if somebody had found their niche as a comedian, it wasn't, going to support them, now doing drama or something like
Hmm.
that. So she realized that she was in a bad lane and she rebelled and she bought her, she had, she figured out, I don't want to give things away, but she figured out how to get rounded and she figured out how to beat Hollywood at their own game by reinventing herself completely and
Yes.
figuring out what she needed to be in order to sort of win back the country.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I thank you for sharing about the title because titles are so hard, and I'm always interested to like how people come to
Oh,
the titles. Yeah,
they're
but it's
so
perfect. Yeah,
yeah, that was Paula. I was stuck. I was
yeah,
really stuck. I had come up with Kate, period. That was
yeah.
it. Like,
Well,
yeah.
um, so I'm always curious, especially with I've only written one novel that's biographical fiction, and I found it super, super challenging because it was a real person in history who still has family members alive, like all of that. And so, talk about like how did you strike the balance between like the documented facts of Katharine Hepburn's life and where you had to fill in the gaps?
Well, I sort of think of I love that you say fill in the gaps because that's exactly how I think of it. I think of it as a physical kind of a puzzle. And I think of the facts, the chronology is this sort of this topographical crust, this,
Hmm.
these are the things we know happened, but we can never know really why things happened. We can never really know what someone was thinking, what someone was doing, what, in their thought
Hmm.
process.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry, I have dogs wandering around.
Oh,
Um, so,
no worries.
so so what I always think of is, okay, these are the facts. This is what we know. And then underneath all of that moral, emotional logic is the fiction. That's what you're building. And
Hmm.
so I think of this as a very much as a fictional Katharine Hepburn. I took all of the facts and then I read all of everything I could get my hands on. And my background is in
Hmm.
academics, so I'm insanely like obsessive about research, so
Hmm.
I read everything I could find. And then I waited for a character to step forward and sort of show me who they were. And she did, a character came forward and had their own logic and it's that process of understanding, you know, okay, so this is what we know historically, this is what I know from my research, and this is what feels right for this person who is, now talking in my head. That's, the kind of the weird alchemy that we do.
Right, right. Yep. Absolutely. So what, for especially for people who don't know a lot about Katharine Hepburn or her career or her movies, like what do you want readers to take away like about her? Like what's kind of the one message that you want about who she was?
I mean, I want readers to, I mean, first, I want readers, what I always hope with readers is that they feel a sense of ownership when they finish a book, because I
Hmm.
think no two readers ever read the same book. I think you meet it with your own life, you meet it with all of your experience, and then there's that very specific chemistry that happens, between you and a book. And so I
Hmm.
hope that they have moments of recognition and moments of, reflection that resonate in their own life. So that's number one, what I always hope for everything that I write. And then the other thing that I hope is that they can see, how hard this person worked to sort
Uh,
of blaze a trail and how she had such an impact on the next century of women in film. You know,
yeah,
she really made a massive, massive difference. So that those would be the
absolutely.
sort of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, on that note, I was thinking as I was reading it, I was like, I need to go back and watch some of her old movies. Like,
Oh,
I haven't watched a Katharine Hepburn movie in forever. Do you have a favorite of hers?
absolutely. I mean, it changed. I mean, when I was growing up, it was Little Women, but
Uh,
now it's Philadelphia Story.
I was going to say Philadelphia Story. That was the last one I've seen, and it was a while ago. But I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like I need to go back and watch it again. So,
So
yeah,
good.
yeah,
So
so
good.
good.
It
Um,
was, yeah, a
yeah.
dream.
And So I have a few like writing questions that I ask everyone who comes on. You've talked a little bit about your process for this one. Are you a plotter or a pantser or somewhere in between? Like, do you plot things out? Do you write by the seat of your pants, or is it a kind of a mix of the two?
I have some I have some flags planted out there
Hmm.
that I know that I'm aiming for. So they're out there. But other than that, I'm flying around by the seat of my pants.
Wow.
So
Very cool. Yeah, I love hearing process because everyone is so different and there's no wrong way or right
yeah.
way, you know? Yeah, it's so
Oh
interesting.
no, when I say that to friends of mine who plot everything down to the last detail, the horrified look on their face is priceless. It just
Yeah.
looks,
Yeah, that like yeah, I'm a plotter, so that makes me want to like break out in a sweat when I
I,
hear like yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a really good friend she's a historical fiction author, and she's written, you know, so many, and she told me really early on that if it's really important, it'll rise to the top and
Mm,
it'll stay with you and it'll turn up in the book. And if it isn't important enough, it won't. And so that's what I console myself with when I, get worried about the fact that I don't plot.
yeah, no, that's great advice.
I hope
Um
so, but
yeah.
I don't go back and look at the notes in case there's anything I should have had in there. I
No.
didn't.
I think you're fine.
Don't go look.
Another question, and it's what I'm grappling with right now. Like, do you do the majority of your research up front? Do you research as you go? Like, or is it a combination of both? Like, I find like I'm doing a ton up front, but then I'm also constantly having to go back or
Yeah.
pull something new out, or so
Yeah. You never really stop, do you? You
no,
can't really stop. You can't just sort of say, okay, now I know everything I need to know, because you don't know what you're going to need as you go along.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but research also can be somewhere where you know, hang out where when I'm afraid to start writing, and I
hmm
have to, you know, give myself a push and just be like, okay, you
it's
know,
time. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
time. You're hiding here. You don't
right,
really need to, like, out you go.
yeah.
So yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, for me, it's when I'm like looking at things like fashion, and I'm like, okay, Jane, like you can put this in later. Like it's time to
Time.
like lock in. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
yeah,
we know when we've crossed the line and when we're like now just lurking and hiding. Not
right. Yeah, totally, totally.
absolutely.
What part of the writing process do you enjoy the most, and what part do you find the most challenging?
The middle, the middle is challenging for me. The
Mm,
middle, the middle feels like swimming through molasses in the dark
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
me. The
Yeah,
beginning is so fun, the end is so fun, the middle is really tough.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so that would be in terms of like the structure, that would be, you know, how it is for me. But then in terms of fun in the writing process, I actually weirdly love the editing process. I love when it's all there and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the shaping and the tinkering and the,
Yeah.
that's a really fun space as well.
Yeah, I agree. I love the revision process. Like my
Yes.
own revisions, my editor's revisions, I enjoy that a lot. Yeah, trying to
Yes.
like amp it all up and make it the best thing it can be. And yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Unless Adobe doesn't work and then you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning crying and on the phone with tech support and all of those things. And other
Oh
than that,
God,
it's
that's awful. What advice do you have to aspiring authors out there about writing and about getting published? I know they're like two very different things, but
yes, two very different things. I think in terms of writing, it would be, well, one is reading. Read everything you can. Just read. Don't worry about if it's in your genre, it's in your, just
hmm
read everything you can and read with the intention of understanding how does this work. If it's
mm,
annoying me, how does it annoy me? If it's bothering me, if I'm wanting to skip ahead, why am I wanting to skip ahead? Like so reading to understand the puppet strings. You're not at the puppet show anymore. You
hmm
need to see the strings. You want to see how it works. So that would be a big thing. And then the other thing would be writing for your own ear. Your own
mm-hmm,
ear is so smart. It knows it knows your style before you consciously do. Your own
hmm
ear knows how a line should sound to you, how things, your the gait of your writing, the phrasing of your writing. So write for your own ear would be my big thing. And if people tell you it doesn't work, you know, um, really be sure and think really carefully before you change it. You know what I mean? Just like
hmm
really,
yeah, yeah.
really think and be careful who you let into the editing process and make sure it's people you really trust.
Yes, that's all such excellent, excellent advice, especially like reading for craft, and like you said, and not just reading for pleasure. It's such a different thing, and it makes you think about, like you said, like the what's going on behind the scenes, why the author made the choices that they make. Yeah, that's really good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, and when you're wanting to skip ahead, why are you wanting to skip ahead? When you're
Hmm
bored, when you go back and reread something twice because you love it, when if you're still thinking about something later, like why are just understanding all of it is so important. And it kind of, I tell, when I teach writing, I always tell students, I'm like, okay, you're not in the audience anymore. Like you're
hmm
done with that part. You're now, time to get behind the curtain.
That's right. That's right. Are you ready to share what you're working on now or next, or not there yet?
I'm in the sort of like the new colt standing on its legs and probably going to fall over stage. So I can't quite say because when you don't know if it's gonna
Oh,
work.
yeah. Yep, yep.
Yeah, I'm in that right now. But it's fun so far if it works. Ask me in about 2 months. So
No, no, I understand that because you don't want to mess with the mojo, right? Like you can't share too much with anyone. I won't even talk to my husband about it. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
point of time. Don't you find that there's a point of time where it's like if you let anyone into that
Hmm
space, it's something,
Yes,
some magic seeps out, and then it's different.
it's absolutely true. Yeah, yeah. What
That's where I am.
are you reading anything that right now? Like, is there anything you're?
Oh goodness, I'm reading everything right now. I'm reading so much that's good. I'm reading my friend Christina Baker Klein's book comes out on the 12th. It's called The Foursome.
Oh yeah, I
I
heard
just
that's excellent. Yeah,
it
I
I
love
just
her.
finished. It's so good. I'm reading, what else am I reading? I'm reading like 6 books. Um, I just started Lily King's Heart the Lover, which I am like the last person to read. And
Oh,
it's
that's on my Kindle and I haven't read it yet, but yeah,
it's
everyone raves about that one too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just as beautiful as I'm trying to read the whole women's fiction long list, and I just
Oh, nice.
got to
What a
her.
great idea. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so good. Yeah. No,
Oh,
I just find they always make such great selections.
yeah, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
How can readers best keep in touch with you?
So I am newly on Substack,
Oh, cool.
and I am on Instagram, and it's Priya Parmar Writing on Instagram. And if you show up there, I hope you like dogs because I have many, many dogs.
You have four, right? I have one.
Or you have one?
Yeah.
Oh,
And two cats. So it's a
oh
zoo. Yeah.
God. My husband's allergic. I would so love to have cats. Yes, four dogs. One of them, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat because he's insisting on taking 70% of the seat. One
Of
of them
course.
is behind me.
So
So,
funny.
yes.
And do you Zoom with book clubs ever? Is that
Oh,
something you do?
yes. I love
Oh, okay.
doing that. I
Oh,
love
awesome.
meeting readers always. So you can always get in touch with me on Instagram and I'll see it.
Excellent. Excellent. This was so lovely. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you for taking cat time. I know you got a lot going on and you're launching next week. But the again, the novel is the original. It comes out April 28th. That's a wrap. Congratulations on this wonderful novel
Oh,
honoring.
thank
And I
you.
feel like it honors Katharine Hepburn and more. If you don't know enough about her, like everyone should know about Katharine Hepburn. She's just amazing.
Oh,
And you honor her so well with this. So
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.